nique, s'en allait tout simplement, routier, pauvre et chantant. En tout chemin, en tout lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu. Dominique, nique, s'en allait tout simplement, routier, pauvre et chantant. En tout chemin, en tout lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu.
Okay, was everybody driven crazy by that song on repeat? I kind of like it, but I don't think I would do okay with it if I were like crazy already. Welcome to our American Horror Story panel. Lights.
I think we're going to have to give up that battle.
Okay.
Sorry
Okay,
about
you
that.
look beautiful today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You look beautiful too,
Thank
with your
you.
TARDIS key that you got from Cardiff. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to Educating Geeks, the show where we help geeks discover new passions. Today we are recording live from Phoenix Comic Con. Hello to everyone in room 129B. Thank you.
Cheer. Live Educating Geeks, and here's proof.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm geek host Bree, and with me today are
Sarah.
Alice,
And Megan. So, Sarah, this is your
it's your deal,
brainchild.
so
I
it's your
will-
brainchild.
I will drive. Okay, so which of us watched it as it aired, and which of us didn't? Okay, so we're going to be educating some people in the audience too.
How
And
many of you out there have not seen it at all still?
At ever. I haven't ever seen it.
Okay, and how many of you have only seen
Season one.
season one? How many have only seen season two? Okay,
Interesting.
That's really interesting, yeah.
Stanley, you didn't see? You guys.
Stanley's only seen the pilot.
It's a good show. But you
Okay.
didn't see season one except for the pilot.
well, the premise is each season is self-contained,
Yeah.
so you don't have to watch season 1 to watch season 2.
But you should, because it's good.
Oh yeah, you should.
But different.
It's good, but yeah, it's totally different. And then season 3 was announced, and it's like, okay, sorry. I know, usually I'm the one telling Alice not to bang, because they don't pick up on the mics. Season 3 is going to be like American Horror Story Coven or
Yeah, I
something.
heard
Yeah,
it's about
Coven.
witches, and I heard Kathy
Yeah.
Bates is going to be in it. And I'm so excited because I love Kathy Bates.
Okay, cool.
And the really cool thing about it is a lot of the actors actually come back, so you'll be like, oh my gosh, I recognize that person. They're in
But they-
heavy makeup, and I'm not sure what's going on, but like, this is awesome.
And they play completely different characters, which is really cool because you get to see actors kind of
Acting.
acting. Yeah,
Actors
being
Not
actors.
playing themselves.
That's right.
Yes, which I enjoy.
And we've talked about that a lot on our podcast on shows like Battlestar Galactica, where you have one actor playing several parts or several different versions of characters, and we all
Fringe.
Fringe, yeah,
Yeah.
Fringe too.
Yep.
We all pretty much agree that we love that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Does any-
love seeing actors do their jobs.
Yeah, and
Acting.
Yes.
and just oh yeah, especially when they can just even change their physical appearance just from character to character without the help of makeup.
Oh, and there's a great example of that in
Go.
this season of American Horror Story.
What was-
Because Frances Conroy, who I love from 6 Feet Under.
Okay.
I love Frances Conroy. And she was in the first season of American Horror Story. She was one half of the housemaid, the quote-unquote ugly half. She is the angel of death in this one. But then
Who I
there are
loved.
that's that weird hallucination that Sister Jude has.
Yeah.
And she's not the angel of death. So you see Frances Conroy playing the same character through a different lens.
Yeah.
And she's so very different, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
That was one of my
She's got
favorite
that great
characters.
accent that she pulls out for the prison version of the angel of death.
Oh, and just note, every single thing about the entire season is a spoiler. Like, you start watching from the first episode, and then anything you find out beyond that, it's all spoiler.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like every episode has a cliffhanger ending,
Yeah.
basically.
Can be awful, but it's also good.
So let's talk a little bit about the story
Okay. Yeah.
for those of people who have not seen it or people who are listening who have not seen it.
We need to get better at that.
Yeah.
Thank you for driving that. The story is a
Well, it's about Briarcliff.
yeah. Briarcliff is it used to be a state mental hospital, and but before that it was run by the Catholic Church, and for criminally insane people, and creepy things happened there. And then at the very beginning of episode 1, we have,
Yeah.
what's his name? No, Adam Levine.
Yeah, Adam
Yes,
Levine.
Adam Levine.
In present day, there's a
Yes,
lot of time
present
jumping
day,
in this
like
show.
Adam Levine and some other lady that I don't remember her
His
name.
his wife. They're on
His
their
new
honeymoon.
wife. They're on their
Yeah.
honeymoon, and she's like kind of a horror junkie. And then they go exploring this abandoned asylum, and creepy stuff happens to them. But not just creepy, but like violent, like he loses his arm. And then we flash back to, the asylum in the 60s.
Yeah, and in the 60s is when it was run by the Catholic Church. And then over the course of the season, we kind of follow the people who are in the mental institution or
And
run the
running
mental
the mental
institution.
institution,
And its history through like the 70s and then up into present day. And there's all kinds of
Where they
weird,
wrap it up with
weird
a
shit and
pretty neat
shenanigans.
bow.
Yes, yes. We'll talk about how they end American Horror Story.
2.
Yes,
Yes, asylum.
yes.
Yeah. Well, I have to preface everything that I say in concern, which I'm nervous about saying because I'm clearly in a room full of people who love horror, that I don't love horror. So this was a challenging assignment for me from the group to watch the entire season because I don't enjoy horror.
Luckily, it was only 13 episodes as
Yes,
opposed to
yes,
having
24
to
or
trudge through
something,
22
yes,
episodes
yes,
of
exactly.
Babylon 5.
Well, and I think this season it was really gross, like up front,
Yeah.
and then right around the middle of the season, it tapered off quite a bit. It wasn't quite as gross.
It got a lot more psychologically disturbing,
Yes.
though,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
with the son and the prostitute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's really a difficult story to just sum up
Yeah.
because they have elements of aliens, like zombies maybe. We're not really
Yeah.
sure. They never really told us.
Talk about it. Yeah.
They were definitely mutants of some sort. Kind of ghosts with the angel
The
of
angel
death.
of
there's
death.
devil
Devil
possibly
possession.
Satan.
possession.
Like
So there was a lot of, let's talk about good and evil. There was a lot of
That's the
evil.
essential. It was about the many faces of evil, in my opinion. The many
absolutely.
faces of evil.
So
was-
I wrote down the aliens, the devil, the Nazi,
Oh,
the
yes.
serial killers, and then we had the people who, like the nun and the Monsignor, who were, supposedly supposed to be on the side of good, being religious people, but they had their
Oh,
own,
no.
Oh,
What
they
are
were
you,
very
high?
their
corrupt.
own motivations.
Just because you're okay, sorry, I won't go there. Stop what I'm going to say right now. I'm going to just stop right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, all
Yeah.
the people
Well,
that you were
I
supposed to
think-
trust were untrustworthy.
I think the only person who gets a pass, and you guys can educate me if I'm wrong, is Kit. Everybody else, in some way or another, does
Yes.
some act of atrocity, be it mental, be it
Yeah.
actual physical, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really the only one, but I could be wrong because I may not be remembering everything. He may be the only one who gets a pass there.
Well,
but-
let's talk about all of the characters. So we've got Kit, who you've already brought up. We have Sister Jude, Sister Mary Eunice, Dr. Thredson, Lana Winters, the Monsignor, and Dr. Arden are the ones that I wrote
the
down.
main characters,
So
yeah.
those are our main characters. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Grace
have
and
them
Alma.
down as secondary characters.
Yeah, supporting characters,
Yeah.
I would say. But of all of those characters that you just mentioned, all of them
Yeah, I think you're right.
have some
Kit's
shade of
the
evil.
only one that comes
Yeah.
out. I mean, he's not unscathed, but he's the only one that comes out without having like a shadow over him.
And it's
Right.
funny because like he lives the most obviously morally questionable life at the end of it because everybody's like, oh, polygamy, blah blah blah. But he's like the
Yeah,
good
but-
guy.
What are you supposed to do in that situation?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
kind of a weird situation to be in.
Right. I would have to say that for me, again, I feel like I'm going to be like totally the devil's advocate.
No,
the whole
that's
time,
okay. We want dissenting opinions.
Is that it for me? It was too many things.
I
Yeah.
agree.
It
That's
was
one of the things
too
I wrote
many
down. I agree.
things.
Yeah.
Pick maybe even 4 for God's sakes, not 10. And I could tell over the course, I could really tell that really I don't think I've been converted to being a horror person, but the whole time the aliens came, I can tell I'm a sci-fi person because they'd be doing the alien story. I'd be like, oh, aliens, and then they'd be
so
doing the
excited for that,
serial
too.
killer, and then I'd be like, oh, serial killer. So I could
Yeah.
tell I wasn't going to be converted.
That's one of the things that I was thinking when was that there are so many different storylines in this. I feel like there are a lot more storylines in this season than there were in the first.
Well, and even just the way they started made it difficult to follow because by the time you got to the end of the season, you're like, wait, why do I care what's happening in the present day? Like, what am I supposed to be seeing here?
I think that they could have done without the alien subplot.
Yeah,
It explained a lot of stuff, but it just seemed more like a Deus Ex Machina, like, oh, aliens. Let's use the aliens
Let's use
too,
some
without
aliens.
having to like really construct something creative.
I wanted way more of the aliens.
At this point, we had a comment from the audience regarding issues of identity.
Exactly, and even Sister Jude too, because
Yeah.
she's got that secret past. Like everybody has these questionable things about themselves, and even Lana at the end, she's very questionable. It's like, what are
yeah.
her actual motivations?
Well, and I think that's one of the concept of hidden evil, the concept of, no, you're not a serial killer, but you're this totally ambitious, manipulative woman,
Yeah.
and the choices that you've made, I think that was one of the key
Yeah.
things they were trying to illustrate. in
Was
the-
there another point? Yeah.
Here, our audience member made the point that there's a lot of mistrust among the characters for this season of America Horror Story. With Sister Jude, you hate her in the beginning, like her, and then maybe hate her again at different points. Lana, you like her at the beginning, and then towards the end you start hating her. And that there was no one character that he hated or liked through the entire length of the season. When we asked him about Kit, he said that Kit was the only one he liked all the way through.
What about that one episode? Sorry about that. That one episode when all you see is the teaser of him like pulling the axe
With the
out of
axe.
somebody,
Yeah.
and then the little kid. Did you?
Our audience member said that teaser is there to make you mistrust Kit. Throughout the show, he liked Kit, but he didn't trust them. With the alien storyline, he didn't like it, but he wanted to see where it was going.
Yeah,
I
I
would
wanted to
agree
know
with
so
you.
much more about
Yeah.
that because Kit is so involved in that storyline, and he is the only person. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
I
wanted
would
to know
agree.
why they were so interested in him. Like that's the one question that I had was, okay, so why was he so important to these alien beings that decided to kidnap him and impregnate people?
And I
with
would
him
almost
and-
rather just have a whole season concentrating
Yes.
on aliens.
That's what I want. That's
Because
exactly what I
it was
want.
a whole lot of like urban legend, kind of like Americana stuff, and like yes, it's American Horror Story, but we don't need every single horror story that happens
Right.
in America.
And I think that was one of, because there were many things that I did, even though I don't love horror, that I enjoyed about it, but that was one of the things I disliked about it, was that it really did try and do too many things.
It did.
And so some of the storylines really suffered.
The comment here was that the first season ended with unfinished business, but it was a complete story. For this season, there were a lot of things left hanging.
Yeah.
That's true.
And in the first season, we were concentrating so much on just that singular house that when they skipped from era to era, you could follow it. You're like, okay, I know what's happening here. I know who's haunting who and what's going on. With this, you're just like,
There
well,
were
I
so
think
much.
there are aliens in 1960 and 2013, and I'm not really sure why it matters.
Well, and your point to mistrust, which I think is also a brilliant one, is one of the other things that I grew weary of over time in the series is the switches. It just became a mechanic to me. I was like, oh, it's going this way. But I know in the next episode it's going to go back this way, and then it's going to go this way. And I did grow a little tired of it toward the end. But I loved so many of the performances. I thought so many of the performances were just brilliant. I loved Death, and I loved
Isn't she great? I just love her.
the nun, which is the nun that,
Sister Mary Eunice?
yes,
Oh
who
my
plays
gosh.
the demon.
Oh my gosh, so
Yeah, that's
good.
Jessica Lange being awesome again.
No.
No, not the main
Oh,
character.
no, you're right. I'm
Not Sister
sorry. Not
Jude.
Sister Jude.
Yeah, but I loved Jessica Lange's performance as well. I thought she was really good.
So good. And really bringing it back to her character, like, Lana's the main character, but Sister Jude goes through the true journey. Like, she starts as a kind of really shitty person, and she ends it. You get to see her redeem herself and end it
But
in
they
a good
go-
place.
They have opposite journeys, right? So you like Lana at the beginning, and she's the good, plucky person, and she goes bad in the end. And Sister Jude's journey is just the opposite. So it's like they're going in
Is
opposite
it because
directions
Sister
over the
Jude gave
course
up her ambition?
Maybe, or they just gave her too many fucking drugs, and,
Yeah.
she went whack-a-doo-doo.
Last lines they said where it's like when you stare evil in the face.
It's going to
That's
stare
right.
right back, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
was-
that whole conversation was really interesting to me because it was about ambition, and ambition, it brought everyone full circle. And for Sister Jude, it was being connected to the Monsignor and getting to Rome, and she gave up on that. And for Alana, it was always the scoop, the story,
Right.
and she never
Fame.
gave up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, our audience member discussed Sister Jude's calling to be a religious person and how it was a false one. Sister Jude became a nun to have a new identity in order to escape her past, and she was using it as a get-out-of-jail-free card. In essence, Sister Jude was pursuing a false vocation, and a lot of people in the show were using the church to escape something, but the negativity of their past actions followed them into the church.
And the,
Yeah,
two,
the
and the two
Catholic-
doctors, too, yeah.
Yeah, the Catholic Church does not get a really in the show at all. No.
Our commenter continued saying that it was Sister Jude learning the truth about the young girl that allowed her to finally escape the negative spiral of her life and start to pursue her true vocation.
Well, but she had to go through years of living in the asylum and, like, terrible squalor. That was terrible.
Well, but one of the other things I thought was interesting about the show, it really, how people who experience cruelty are likely to be cruel to others. Or people who, yes. Exactly. And I thought that was another pretty consistent theme throughout the course of the season. Ladies at the other end of the table.
We talked in our Star Wars episode about how the story was of Luke Skywalker told through the eyes of
Yes.
R2 and C-3PO. Do you think this story was the story of Jessica Lange's character as told through Sarah Paulson's character
Well, and also Kit.
and Kit?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a definite possibility, I think. I think it's harder to draw that straight distinction.
Yeah.
But I think you could certainly argue that, yeah. Because we get her story directly from her, but we also get it through other people as well.
Yeah, Lana, Kit, I mean, a lot of other people.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite baddie? Who was, if with all the evil that is presented to you, who was your favorite evil thing, person, whatever?
Oh my gosh.
What was your favorite face of evil?
I love the way you framed that question.
I don't know. Do you guys have an answer while we think up ours?
Yeah, who's your favorite face of evil?
Yeah, I think he's my favorite too.
So handsome.
So much at the beginning. I thought he was there to help, and then he turns out to be, this like sick
Yeah.
Yeah.
killer.
And actually, that's something that I wanted to talk about because that got spoiled for me.
No.
The very first episode that I saw, I was visiting my parents and my dad was into it, and I hadn't started watching this season yet. And we watched the episode where Lana was in the basement with him. And so from that episode, I knew exactly who he was. And then I went back and watched, and so I kind of missed out on that betrayal. And watching it, I was like, man, I would have been so angry and just felt so much emotion when this was revealed. So I didn't get to see that happen. But what was that like for you guys?
I always got a creepy vibe from his character.
You
I
did?
didn't trust him from the beginning. So
Okay.
I didn't find, and plus because of that mechanic in the show, I wasn't all that surprised when,
So
it's him.
you didn't trust anybody.
Basically, because the show taught me not to trust anyway, just like the gentleman in the back of the room said. So I was just like, oh yeah, it is him. I kind of,
I was completely shocked.
I think I would have been.
I didn't trust the Kit character. I was like, was
He
that
was
a
too good?
hallucination?
Right.
Are they? Well, mostly it was the show. I didn't trust the show.
Right.
Are they really bringing aliens into American Horror Story after they had ghosts last time?
I was really surprised about that too.
So I was like trying to think like, oh, okay, well maybe he was hallucinating, maybe he was under some kind of like drug influence. And so when the doctor came, and I just trust doctors because I want to. So I
Well,
was
you
like,
should be
oh,
able to,
good.
right?
Right.
Right, and you should. And that totally played on
Right.
on that for me. And then I was like, oh. And I guess I should have guessed because I didn't think that they would give Zachary Quinto such like a benign
straight role.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
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 So, but yeah, I was surprised, and I was more impressed with the writing in that case, with the plot twist, than I was, like brokenhearted that somebody had broken my trust.
What about you, Brie?
That was my favorite plot twist. I loved it. I adored him from the beginning and had a huge old crush on the character. And I was like, oh, he's so nice and he's going to save her. And then as soon as he started to get the behavioral correction therapy on her, I was like,
yeah.
oh, God, no, he's bad.
Well, I was looking at
That
that
was a
through
little
like the
strange.
lens of, okay, well, this was the 60s,
Yeah, at the
and
time,
they thought
yeah.
that was a legitimate treatment.
Yeah, and I tried to get behind that, but then I was like, no, the writers wouldn't show this unless it was significant in some way.
Right, and the way that he plays it so cold, so clinical, to me was like,
I don't know, though. I've been to a lot of psychiatrists, and they're pretty disaffected. Like, they're pretty distant.
Well, they have to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Still, for me,
didn't-
for me not having that personal experience, it read for me in the show as like, oh, evil is coming.
I was thinking that we should have an Educating Geeks podcast drinking game where when Sarah brings up her like psychiatric past, everybody shotgun their beer, because I do it at least once an episode. When Sarah talks about her crazy, take a shot.
Well, one
No
of the,
doubt.
it's hard for me to pick, I think seeing Thorson go through his, is that right? Is that Redson?
Fred
Go
Son,
through that
yeah.
change. I think I would have enjoyed it more, but I really liked watching Zachary Quinto's performance of it. And that's a really meaty role. Like,
Yeah.
wow. But one of the stories I was really interested in was Sister Mary Eunice being possessed by the devil, and that's another storyline that I wish I had seen more, that they had explored a little bit further.
I felt like it just sort of ends.
Yes, it
Yeah.
ends
And you're
very
like,
abruptly.
wait, that's it?
Well, and that's another one, like the alien thing, they could just do
Yeah.
a whole season on someone being
Yeah.
possessed by the devil, and it could be amazing. Because what was missing for me, and it comes up, I think, only 2 or 3 times, is the real Sister Mary Eunice's struggle with the
Right.
devil as it's taking over her body, because it just kind of jumps in there, and then that's kind of the end of it. Like, now she's the devil.
Yeah.
And you only really see her fight, like, maybe 2 or 3 times.
I
And
was-
it's very brief.
Yeah, I was not satisfied with how that ended at all, because
Yeah.
her final struggle, and like, well, when the other guy died, the devil escaped into somebody else. So like,
Yes.
what's the logic behind this? Just because the angel of death happens to be walking the halls, like she's like, oh, I can take care of the devil. You just have to kill the host. Like,
Well, she did
Right.
say she would be back for him, or that devil.
it's true, and the devil
Yeah.
did seem pretty
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
But like, otherwise, such a good storyline that really deserved more time.
yeah.
And such a great performance.
So good.
Such a good performance.
Yeah.
Because when she was
So
wide-eyed,
viable.
she was wide-eyed, and when she
Yeah.
was the devil, you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
dang girl.
You were talking to me about that before we started, that you didn't even recognize her from the
No.
first season.
Wait,
she had
she was
been
in the first season?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
played the wealthy wife ghost in the first season.
Oh.
Yeah, and like,
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't even recognize her. Her performance was so different right off the bat. I was just like, oh my God. I got to the end of the season and was thinking about it for the podcast, and then realized that she had been in the prior season.
Right.
That's awesome.
I didn't see the prior
Should we talk
season.
about who made the jump from the first season to the second season?
There's so many.
We did.
Yeah.
So Evan Peters,
There's a
who
lot.
played the son in the first season, and Kit in the second season. Jessica Lange, of course. Lily Rabe, of course. Zachary Quinto.
Yep.
And then I pretty much, like, I wanted to tweet about this, but I didn't want to spoil it for you guys. When Dylan McDermott came back
Yeah.
as the serial killer's son, I was like, oh, there's another person that came back. And that was like an excellent, like, I had no
thought
idea
you
to
did tweet
expect him.
that.
Did I?
I could swear you tweeted
Maybe
that.
I did. Maybe I didn't, like, give it away, though. I don't know.
No,
yeah,
you didn't
No,
give
I
it-
was like, oh,
yeah.
I commented on his
Yeah.
introduction,
Yeah.
but without, like, saying, like, really when or.
Yeah, yeah.
I was super excited about that.
And he played such a different character too, but his
Yeah.
face is just so recognizable that I was just like, no, no.
And he
that's
was,
not
of course,
right.
back in the psychiatrist's office, but in the other chair.
Yeah.
For me, he's one of those actors that I'm always like, that's Dylan McDermott.
Yeah.
There he is. He's
Yeah.
on screen. He's being Dylan McDermott right now.
He's being Dylan McDermott
That's
right
like
now.
my Tom Cruise thing. Tom Cruise
Yeah,
and Tom
or-
Cruise's movie starring Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise.
Do the- yeah.
Tom Hanks from Mrs. Hanks. Tom Hanks.
I heard that one on the when we were talking. Okay. I love your Tom Cruise. Is Tom
That's my Tom Cruise
My
thing.
Tom Cruise.
Tom
yeah.
Cruise. Tom Cruise. Making love to Tom Cruise.
No, we don't make love to Tom Cruise on this podcast. No.
So, okay, I have a question about Jessica Lange's hallucination in, well, a lot
The
of them.
jailhouse one?
Yeah, with the woman that the woman that had transferred in from the county
Yeah.
facility.
Yeah.
The Frances Conroy
And
character.
she thought
Yeah.
that it was Frances Conroy's character
was
versus
Death.
the Angel of Death at first, but it turned out it was, like some other lady. What was the point of that? Did anybody catch that?
I think it actually was just a lady who looked like the Angel of Death, because I got confused too, and all of a sudden she was like fighting somebody.
and shanking
somebody,
people.
yeah, and somebody, she went to talk to somebody who was in charge, and they said, "Oh, that's your third roommate.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years." Like, I think she was having weird psychological breaks,
They
but
were giving her lots of drugs.
that lady might have actually resembled the Angel of Death to her.
Well, maybe the
But
very
the one
first
that-
roommate did.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
they
the first
show the
one.
picture of the third one, and she looks nothing like the Angel of Death character.
So that was just to demonstrate like how.
Well, and
How far gone
because,
she was going. Yeah,
because
thank
she
you.
had such an interesting relationship with death.
Yeah.
And maybe she had been thinking about it. And when she saw that woman, she just kind of lost it.
Yeah.
And maybe she had to kind of like let go of her sanity for a while in order to rebuild herself and come to the end that she came to. Because ultimately, she had this really very beautiful, happy
Megan's
ending.
getting deep.
I know.
She's getting
It
so
was
deep.
it was the part of the season that made me cry
Aww.
at the end.
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it made me
The Kit story of Sister Jude at the end, I cried.
Yeah.
And,
So are
and
the
we all know I'm a
aliens
crier,
trying to
but I
take over
cried.
America? Because their weird children are like doctors and lawyers now.
Oh no.
They're like neurosurgeons and like
I don't know.
big
Yes.
They have
lawyers.
smart
Yeah.
kids. Like, are they
What was your
aliens?
comment?
Part of having the roommate look like the Angel of Death was a way of showing Sister Jude's role reversal. Now there's a person with her in the institution that has taken on the role of Sister Jude was to everyone else at the beginning of the series. In order for her to become happy, she had to be broken. She had to go through the same thing everyone else at the asylum did, and she was able to grow because of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of what you said. Very good point. And it was a clever way to make time pass.
Yes.
I think
Do
we
you
have.
think she paid her penance?
This audience member commented that Sister Jude was so hostile because she was hiding inner demons. Everything that happened to her before she became a nun added to her inner struggle. At the end, she was able to fight a lot of those demons after finding out that that girl wasn't dead. She was finally at peace and able to be the real Sister Jude. It was her inner struggle that made her so hard on everyone.
Right, and she was taking it out on everyone else, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Another member of the audience commented that the best way for the devil to get to Sister Jude was not to possess her, but to possess the innocent Sister Mary Eunice, a character so pure that even Sister Jude couldn't punish her. Had the devil possessed Sister Jude, nobody may have even noticed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
that's a good point.
Good point.
That's a good point.
What was your comment?
Looking back to Sister Jude, you could tell early on that she was going to get twisted nun because she had a red night.
Yeah.
It's like she had, and she always wore
Yeah.
it to make her have it. The other nuns were like, they were fine, they were pure, they were whatever, but she always had that red night. It became like a symbol of her past, a symbol of who she was, a symbol of what she was going to be.
Sure. Although I would say that it isn't always the case that, other than Sister Jude, all of the other nuns in the
In the convent.
in the asylum and the
Oh, yeah.
convent were pure, because many of them also show acts of cruelty and.
That's true.
I didn't even notice the other nuns until about the third act. Like, I thought there were 2 nuns in the whole place.
They weren't really showing up very much. I think when the episode that really jumped out at me was like, oh, there's other nuns, was the one where, what was the French girl's name?
Grace.
Claire?
Claire.
When Grace
Claire.
comes back. Grace
Yeah.
is great.
No, Grace was the girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, when Grace comes back from
Okay.
the aliens.
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah.
After she's had her inside scooped out,
Yes.
and like 2 nuns come running into the room to rescue her.
Clearly in the show, there are other nuns other than Sister Jude and the one possessed by a demon who are enacting cruelty for
Yes.
cruelty's sake. Absolutely.
It's institutionalized cruelty, you know,
It
just
is,
like
it's
the Stanford,
institutionalized cruelty.
the Stanford prison experiment.
Where you put normal people in a position of power over others without supervision, and they will exercise that power as well.
Yeah, exactly. That Stanford prison experiment. So
Yeah.
they just, you know, whether that was their motivation or whether that was what they learned, but it was
Well,
very
they had
clearly
kind of been taught that by Sister Jude.
right. It was
Yeah,
clearly
nonetheless.
her
yes,
motivation.
Yes, I get that.
I think
Yeah.
there are
I'm not
many
arguing
people
that.
that would argue that nuns are certainly capable of cruelty.
Yes, especially from that time period.
They are human. There probably are nuns out there wearing red, lacy undergarments beneath their habits.
And more power to them.
Yes. Actually, I was going to say that I actually thought that was kind of cool that she was wearing that racy red negligee under her habit, because she's still a woman. Just because you're a nun doesn't mean you stop being a woman and still wanting to feel sensual in some way. But yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a
Yeah.
clear motivation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did. for
By
sure.
the way, Monsignor, let's talk a little bit about that character.
Oh, okay.
My goodness.
I
love
would
those
like to talk
Fineses.
about. Okay, here we're gonna get a little bit serious. Male rape. When he was raped by Sister Mary Eunice, he
Yeah.
went through. I was really I was kind of pleased with the portrayal of him going through the same thing that female rape victims go through. You know, especially under like the religious indoctrination that you have to be pure, you have to, you know, be celibate, and then once that was taken away from him by his rapist, he went through all of the self-doubt, all of the like self-blame, thinking he wasn't good enough, you know, thinking he wasn't pure anymore. And then because he's who he is, and part of that is being, you know, a Monsignor and male, he kind of overcame it quite easily and went back into his like, oh, I'm the boss of this place and you have to listen to me. And
Well, but the devil they got rid of the devil not too long after it happened. So I think that helped him get over it
did he
so
know
quickly.
that,
Well,
Yeah.
he knew that she did.
Okay.
He knew that she had died, and he knew that the doctor had disappeared.
Well, and what, you know, to a certain extent, you're right, it's a show, so they only have so long to tell his story. So he has to get over it at some point if his character is going to go in some other direction. But, you know, you could also look at it in the sense of, what are you going to do? Are you going to remain powerless, or are you going to take over the opportunity to become powerful again? And
Yes.
clearly, he made the choice
And
to
he had a lot of
become powerful
ambition.
again.
That's what I was
Yeah.
about to say.
He had a lot of
so
ambition.
much ambition, and that was always his driving factor
Yeah.
in everything he did throughout the show. Like, oh, we're gonna make some mutants. Okay, as long as it gets me to
Yeah.
like
long as it gets
the
me to
next
Rome.
step. Yeah.
You in the front row, you got something to say?
Yes, sir.
From the first season to the second season, what appealed to me about the first season was how highly sexualized it is. What was interesting about the second season was I was waiting for that high sexualization again, but all of it ended either in some sort of death or mutation.
Yeah.
And looking at this young lady's comment over here about framing the time, if you look at it in terms of the time, that kind of worked better. And I wonder what it'll be like for season 3 now.
That's a good question.
Witches are highly sexualized.
They are,
so-
yeah.
Even season 1 perhaps.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Isn't
so.
everything highly sexualized?
Well, we do live
Speaking
in
of
a
highly
13.
sexualized, Chloe Savini, I did not like her in this.
Oh yeah, I
at
didn't
all.
like her either.
Did not like her.
Did not care for her character.
And
I wasn't too
anybody
upset when she was
disagree
gone.
with me? Please tell me why you liked her.
I expected her to be much more than she was.
What do you mean by
Oh boy,
much
and she
more?
got her comeuppance.
Yes,
The
it
the
was
one who
Vanessa.
gets chopped up by the Nazi
Yeah.
and then dumped
He-
off at
He
the
removes
kids'
her
school.
legs, and then the Monsignor kills her.
Oh yeah.
He's a murderer.
With his
Yes.
Although-
rose, what are those
Was it a
called?
mercy killing?
Rosary, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was a mercy killing.
I'll
It-
give him that one.
and also
that's
he was
big
covering
of
his
you.
tracks. He was covering his tracks.
Was it
He
this
was covering
show
his
where
tracks,
someone
yeah.
said I did what was oh no, I'm quoting Babylon 5. That was yesterday's panel.
Yesterday. Yes.
But to quote Babylon 5,
Yeah.
that grandmother killed the dude and to save her granddaughter, and her granddaughter said, well, you did what was right. and grandmother said, no, I did what was necessary.
Yeah,
That's something different,
yeah.
which I
like that
thought was a
episode.
very, very nice quote. But one last point that I want to make about the Monsignor, and then we'll go to your comment. Did anyone notice that he crosses himself wrong? He is a Monsignor in the Holy Catholic Church, and he crosses himself like he is Eastern Orthodox. Why? What is
that a thing that Anglicans do?
crossing themselves?
No, the wrong way, the other way.
I
I
think,
know
yeah, I
nothing
think
about this
people of the
topic.
Church of England also, when they do still do the sign of the cross, Catholics, it's the running joke is spectacles, testicles, watch, wallet, and it's left to right. But I think in England and I think in Eastern Orthodox, which is practiced in Greece and other places that I don't know, it's right to left, and that drove me crazy. Yeah, he is English. He is English.
So
but
Alice
it drove
has
me crazy.
her gun thing.
I have my gun thing. You've got your
I
needle
have my
thing.
needle thing.
and
You
And
have
I
your
have-
genuflection
That's
thing.
correct. Well, heck, if you're going to be in America, cross yourself correctly. We live in America.
We have yet to discover what Bree's thing is.
I don't know what really gets me bunched up.
We'll find it. Gets those knickers in a twist, right?
Woo. My goodness.
They brought so many actors back for the second season. Do you think in the third season they'll bring some of those actors back, plus maybe some of the actors from the first season that weren't in the second season?
Well,
We know they are.
I
Like,
think some of the
Who
actors.
do you know they're bringing?
they're definitely bringing back Sister Jude. I mean, what's her name?
Jessica
again?
Lange.
Jessica
No,
Lange.
No, so he's asking who was in the first season, who was not in the second season, that they might bring back in the third season.
Oh, I saw.
I'd like to see Breckenridge. You know,
I didn't see
young
the first
Moira,
season.
The young maid.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, I would. McDermott's daughter, the granddaughter.
Yeah.
We could probably look this up
What
right
was
now.
your comment?
Somebody do it, Devin.
What kind of witches? Is it going to be like we can't handle magic? Is it going to be like we're summoning things? Is it going to be like the Secret
It's-
Circle season 2 that we never got? Like,
I think it's going to be modern New Orleans. He mentioned he wanted to bring back a Romeo and Juliet youth type romance thing, like
Oh
in
my
the
gosh,
first
I have
season.
to watch
I
this.
remember reading that. Yeah.
And that's and like
Yeah.
it's going to be Jessica Lange versus oh my God, what's her name that they're bringing in?
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates.
And like they're gonna start out as friends and become mortal enemies, and it's gonna be like these two strong ass women going at each other.
Can I make a prediction? If we're doing witches in New Orleans, there's probably going to be plenty of voodoo
Yeah,
and hopefully some vampires.
Another thing I don't do.
I wouldn't mind.
So can we talk about the creators,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, so we have.
Glee and American Horror Story.
I know, what
And
is up
Talk
with
amongst
that?
yourselves.
Discuss.
Discuss.
Yes, which one is scarier?
Funny.
The audience comment here was that there's probably a tendency for creative minds to have these areas of polar opposites. For example, Shel Silverstein, who wrote children's books, used to draw adult comics for Playboy. So when you look at something like Glee, that started out so sugar sweet it made your teeth hurt, and now they're delving into storylines that deal with teen pregnancy and more adult stories, maybe this is where the minds of the American Horror Story creators actually kind of lie.
Well, I get your point, and although I do think with Glee, also some of it had to do with the maturing audience, much like with Harry Potter. Obviously, what they're doing in book 1 versus what they're doing in book 7 is very different. But to your point, I think actually watching actors act versus playing themselves, people who writers who really can only write one thing, versus these creators who obviously can flex their creative muscle and work in a variety of genres and do a variety of things, I think is pretty
Well,
amazing.
didn't they also do Nip Tuck? I see you.
but then we also have the game.
Yes, the name game. That was a great. I loved that portion. That was so beautifully shot.
I watched that on YouTube last night. It's
Yeah.
on YouTube. Just Google the name
A
game.
little sideways nod, like you
Yes,
a little sideways nod?
I think you could make that argument. Yeah, I think you could.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
The name game scene
Where she first had religious
when Sister Jude hallucinates.
Oh.
Kit, Bobit, banana, fan, Bobit.
Yeah.
That was season 1
So-
good.
So who prefer? That's an excellent question.
Question,
Who prefers
yeah.
season 1?
Oh my God, only 2 hands. No, 4
Yeah,
hands.
I
5.
would.
Don't cheat, you in the front row.
And who prefers season 2?
Two.
I think I prefer season 2 slightly. Because there's
Looks pretty
aliens.
even, actually, pretty even.
Yeah, pretty even, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to choose, right? Because they're so very different. Oh, I'm so excited to see what season 3 is going to be like.
I'm not.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
the cast
Cast
list.
list.
He
Do you
looked
want
it
to
up.
hand it to me so I can read it over
Yeah,
the
we'll read it
mics?
into the microphone.
Cast: Jessica Lange, Sarah Paulson, Evan Peters, Tysa Farmiga, who played the daughter. She'll be back. Frances Conroy,
Yay!
Lily Rabe, Kathy Bates, Gabori Sidibe,
You go.
Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett?
Oh, setting it in New Orleans is a perfect way to
That's
get it
awesome.
not so like
Yes, this was a
white.
very pasty cast.
Very
Another
pasty
very
cast.
pasty
Very
cast.
pasty cast.
Patty LuPone
Really?
and Emma Roberts as Madison.
Oh man, this sounds awesome.
Yeah.
This is gonna be, well, that sounds awesome.
American Horror Story Coven. October 2013.
Not far away.
Well, since we're talking about a season that hasn't come out yet, shall we talk about the drinking game?
Sure.
Drinking
So,
game.
for those of you who have not listened to the podcast before, the Geek hosts, we like to appreciate some libations every once in a while. And to encourage that, we like to come up with a drinking game for the things that we talk about on the show. So each host brings some drinking game rules, and we kind of establish a game. And while we're doing this, if any of you thinks of
Start
some rules,
thinking
just
them.
start shouting them out. So since it was a topic of conversation, you should take a shot every time you see the red underwears.
Oh, the 90?
The
That's a good
negligee.
one. Mine would be if the angel of death actually kisses somebody.
That was one of
you
mine.
take a shot. If she doesn't kiss him, you have to pour your shot out.
Oh.
For your homies that she did kiss.
That is alcohol abuse. You can't.
You like how I twisted it? If the person stays alive, you got to dump your drink. The person dies, you got to slam your drink.
Yeah, my version of this rule, we'll have to take a vote since we have divergent rules on the same
my
topic. Was
never happened
take a
before.
shot if she shows up and take a second shot if she kisses the person
If the
she
person
shows up to
dies.
talk to. That
Yeah.
was my point, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
What do you guys have?
I like take a shot if she shows up and take another shot.
Well,
but
I'm of
it's
the opinion
me,
we should
so-
celebrate Frances Conroy showing up on screen anytime she's on
That's
screen.
true. She was
so.
awesome. Sarah, take it away.
You know, I didn't really think of any.
I had the
What?
same problem with Babylon 5, right?
Yeah.
It was hard.
I had no problem thinking of drinking games for Babylon 5 because it was making me mad. I'm like, every time I'm mad, I'm going to take a shot. Oh, I hate that show. I don't know. Come back to me. Anybody
Did
from
you
the
have one?
audience?
Anytime anyone hits on Kit.
Anytime anyone hits on Kit, take a
Oh,
shot.
that's a good one. Yeah, I
That's a
like
good
that.
one.
Oh,
There
and
are
we
a lot of-
decided that they were going to have to be milk-based drinks, like
Drinks.
Kahlua and cream or
Yes.
mudslides.
Slippery nipple, for
That
example.
ruins mine because I was gonna say anytime a major supporting character dies.
Take,
shot the
yes, that was
beer.
one of the, take a
That's a
shot
good
when
one.
you hear Dominique, the song.
Everything can't be a shot, though, so maybe down your beer when you.
Dominique starts.
We'd all die.
Take a drink anytime someone cries.
Oh, that's good.
One of the
That's
rules I came up
good.
with is take a drink anytime Sister Jude cries. Because she does cry quite a bit in this season. And it's very
Crazy.
emotional.
Take a shot every time Sister Jude takes a shot.
That is brilliant.
Okay, we need some not so quite hard rules too. We need some just drinking beer, taking a sip.
I found it hard. I like to taper the rules. Take a drink of your beer versus take a
Yes,
shot, depending on
yes.
what is happening. And this show is so heavy that it feels like you should be taking a shot for
all the
everything.
time. What's yours?
Anytime you're confused by the plot, take a shot.
Take a shot.
Yeah, yeah.
You influencers make sense?
Keep drinking until you think you're as drunk as the writers were when they came up with the plot twists.
Every time you go into the room with the bathtubs, chug a glass of water.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, that's a good one.
Good one.
I like that.
That's a good one.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's like
yes,
our
I like
Battlestar Galactica drink wine when they drink water rule.
that. Yes.
I like
yes.
I have a drink. I have 2 drink rules. Take a drink anytime Dr. Arden is performing an experiment on somebody. I didn't want to get too drunk doing that.
Yeah.
So I figured we'll just do some drinks. with
Yeah.
them.
How about that? Follow that with a beer chaser if it involves really gruesome looking stitches afterwards.
Yeah.
Take a drink anytime Sister Mary Eunice acts either with sexual overtones or undertones. And you won't just be drinking when she's possessed, because at the very beginning, when Devin was talking about how sexualized the first season was, I feel like they kind of carried that over a little bit into the beginning of the first season with like the S&M. Like when she was like,
yeah.
oh, I've been bad, let me go get the whip that you're going to whip me with.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and there's
take a
the
drink.
whole candy apple thing too with the
Oh,
doctor.
yes, with her and Dr. Arden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that scene where she's like,
She's so innocent, she won't take a bite of his candy apple.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I have one for take a shot every time the aliens show up. We needed an alien rule in there.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I like when
Do
you
we
see
ever?
their,
You
you
don't
don't
ever see
ever
them,
really
right?
see them. You see their toes
Yeah.
or
toe.
their finger toes, whatever those things are.
Their tentacle. We all know where that goes.
I was
Only the
waiting for it
people
to
in the
turn into
audience can see
signs
me
at some
making,
point.
trying to make alien hands.
Oh yeah, they
Oh, I
did.
I
forgot that.
love
That's
what
right.
they did to Pepper. Oh my gosh. I meant to bring that
Oh
up.
my
That is
gosh.
such a powerful thing that happens. And what a great performance. Wow. And I remember when she was on screen, what was she saying? Play with me. I remember like, oh wow, that actress is having so much. Look at that actress committing to this role. Like, and she's only going to be in it right now.
Right.
Did they use any kind of like prosthetics
Right.
on her to make
I
her?
looked up
Did
some
she actually
photos of
have
her.
microcephaly, or did they just?
No, but I
does
looked
not
up some photos of her.
Yeah,
She is
that
a
was a
really
good one,
interesting
too.
looking person. Like she does have a little bit of a bigger nose. I think they put a prosthetic to make her nose bigger, but
Even bigger.
she's one of those actresses that just has a really interesting face. And it's just because it's very unique. She's got really interesting cheekbones and she's got those gigantic eyes, and she actually did shave her head for the role because there are a bunch of photos of her with a completely bald head. But yeah, like I want to see more of this woman. And I looked her up, and she hasn't really done very much.
Well, hopefully she will now.
Oh yeah,
She did like a
she's kinda
one-woman
hot.
stage show.
She kind of looks like Frenchie from Grease a little
Naomi
bit,
Yeah.
Grossman.
Yes.
If you guys know. Oh,
except for like except
I just had it.
except for with a thinner face.
Sister Jude.
She's
and
cute.
We'll bring it up, lady.
love her. I wanted to bring up something that Bree mentioned in our Star Wars: A New Hope episode, and I was like, "Have you seen it?"
R2D2 being sassy.
Yes, because that is so relevant to American Horror Story, and you know the
What did I
servant
say?
robot.
Remind me.
Okay, so we were talking about Star Wars: A New Hope. The episode will drop in a few weeks if you want to check
I
out
think we're trying to
Educating
release it next
Geeks.
week as
Yeah.
a post-Comic-Con celebration.
So they were talking about the relationships between Luke and Leia, and Luke
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and Anakin / Darth Vader.
Right.
And Bree had said something about how she was able just to pick up on the familial relationship. Did you remember saying that?
You talked about some research about siblings who have never
Yeah,
grown up
siblings,
together.
They
can be
have
attracted to
romantic-
each other.
right,
Yeah, if you
'cause
meet
there's that
somebody who's
connection.
related to you, you're so connected to them in like this weird way that like
Maybe you misinterpret it
you
as
yeah, and
romance.
you kind of end up marrying your twin brother or something like that.
But you have, but
happened.
you know, we were talking about that, like, you just have a connection with somebody that you maybe only met as an infant,
Right.
and then you reconnect later on. And I had just seen that episode when the Dylan McDermott character and Sarah Paulson, like, when his character, like, meets her as, you know, like, when she finally tracks him down.
Oh, as a
and-
child?
As a child,
Yes.
and how he says
he
that
does
he
say
knew.
something about that. Yeah, he says he knew that it was her like immediately, and he would tell his friends, "That's my mom" on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there we go.
bringing it
happens.
full circle between
Full
episodes.
circle. Go back.
So I was side conversation with Megan that the other thing about that Sister Jude's and Lana's storylines going the opposite direction. So Kit, through his forgiveness of Sister Jude in a lot of ways, also sort of although I think forgiveness is the person who's doing the forgiving, frees her in a lot of ways, and she sort of has her redemption. And Lana, on the other hand, isn't able to forgive and ends up becoming what it is, right? So she in a sense, she only kills 2 people, but in a sense, she becomes a serial killer in the end,
Yeah.
right?
She kills 2 people.
For the scoop.
She kills,
She kills
the
Dredson
doctor
and
and
she
she
kills
kills her
her
son.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
She,
Yeah,
well,
I-
kinda
Yeah,
did.
but like
Yes.
I was kind of
Nonetheless.
surprised that she was all like, I know you're here, you can come out. And I just, it's kind of a trope that you just like when you accept your death and you know it's coming, just like, Obi-Wan, let's go talk about Star Wars again. Obi-Wan is just like, I'm about to get killed. And he lets himself get killed. So I was like, is she really gonna do that?
Well, it was coming full circle with what
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
replaying the exact situation that had happened.
Well,
with
and as you pointed out
Dredson.
earlier, that, when in the basement, and she's
Yeah.
essentially just telling him what he needs to
Yeah.
hear to sort of.
So she's replaying 2 different situations that happened with his father in that scene, because she's replaying the moment she killed Dredson, and she's replaying the moment that she kind of played Dredson when
Yeah.
when she was telling him the things that he needed to hear,
Yeah.
so that she could survive the
Survive,
situation. Yeah.
Exactly.
I was really rooting for her after that. I was like,
I
wow,
was
she
too.
turned into such a bitch, but
Could you blame
good
her?
for you. Good for you killing this dude.
Because he did deserve to die, that's true.
Well, thank you again so much to everybody for coming. And you can find us on our website. It's educatinggeeks.wordpress.com. And we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. You can just search for Educating Geeks and find us that way. So thank you for being at our second ever live episode. Enjoy the rest of the con.
Thank you guys.
Bye.